all stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, and welcome to the February 6, 2023 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, or ZBA. First, let me introduce the members of the ZBA present here this evening. Myself, Chairman Alan Donnelly, Vice Chairman Carl Hinger, our Secretary, Janet LaForgia, regular member Commissioner Lisa Temple, regular member Commissioner Nahid Kaiser is on the phone remotely with us this evening. Absent tonight is Commissioner Larry Rushmeyer and alternate member Commissioner Richard Briggs, who may show up during the meeting. Alternate member Commissioner Elijah Hewling is with us this evening. And we have our land use director, Ms. Rochelle Hodza, who's going to take the minutes tonight. Thank you very much. The current agenda can be found here at the table or on the town website under board meetings. When we begin the public hearing, I will call each applicant one at a time. When I call the property address, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and tell us about your appeal in detail. After, the secretary will read into the record any communications we received in favor or opposed to the application. The chair will then entertain questions of clarification from board members concerning the application. We will then hear from those who wish to speak in favor of the application, followed by those who are opposed. Following each side of the question, the applicant will be allowed to make concluding remarks. After we've gone through all the cases on the agenda tonight, we will close the public portion of this meeting and will deliberate in open executive session. You must have at least 4 affirmative votes to have your appeal granted. The final decision may be in the form of approved as submitted, approved with stipulations, or disapproved. All questions and comments must be directed through the chair. Please be assured that everyone will be given the opportunity to speak. However, the board is most interested in hearing factual information relative to the application, and in view of time constraints placed upon us, we ask your indulgence in not reiterating the comments previously presented. You are welcome to stay until the end of the meeting or contact the land use office in the morning. Thank you. Let's start with the prior minutes. I'll take a motion to approve the prior minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I thought they looked pretty doggone good.
I agree.
Looks good to me.
What do you guys think?
I think they're fine.
Look good to you, Elijah?
Yes, sir.
Look good to you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of approving the prior
Aye.
minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good evening. We have Mr. Richard Briggs is now in the meeting with us. Good evening, Richard.
Good evening. How are you?
Okay. We have no old business, no new business tonight. Hopefully it'll be a quick one. No table items. Next on the agenda.
Well, there's work to do there.
Oh.
There's the ZBA bylaws.
Oh yeah, that's A. Okay, I put my number wrong. Thank you very much. All right, so let's table items. We're going to go ZBA bylaws, final ZBA bylaws draft review / response from the attorney, and let's open up the discussion.
Yeah. Everyone got the email from the attorney, right?
Yes.
Everyone's had a chance to look at that?
Yes. Okay. I have a few notes and questions on it, but things that we can discuss. Who wants to go first? You read it over, Lisa?
I did. I'm pulling it up now. I think some of the comments were, just grammatical and probably don't need to discuss.
I'm sorry, Lisa, I just can't.
It's that blower.
Yeah. So I was just saying the changes. Some of them are just like grammar or, probably wouldn't be our benefit
two
to
mixed
discuss.
words, and the rest, she commented on.
Yeah. So we should probably focus on the latter type of comment.
I'm sorry, is this being recorded on a regular recorder too?
No, but
Did
we
they
are
give you
on
one of
regular.
those?
We don't have a regular
You do?
recorder, but we
Well,
are
that's a
here.
mistake. I don't know why they didn't provide you with one, that's it.
They didn't
It's a
provide it.
law. They have to be recorded,
We have audio video here though if you need it, or we can restart over.
No, recorded on a town, board.
Yeah,
Mr.
nobody,
Briggs.
there's no,
I don't know why they didn't give you one tonight, it's, I'll have to talk to them about that.
thank you, Rochelle.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, please go
You
ahead.
tell
I'm
me
sorry.
when and I'll go.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's a matter of order here.
Okay. All right, you wanna just go right down the line? Does that make sense on her comments, or just skip right along?
Yeah,
Where
we
have
should go down the
questions?
line.
Okay. 1A, on the first line, executive board members, chairman should be changed to officers as follows, chairman.
Yeah, that seems like it's just a
Yeah.
grammatical thing.
That seems
Yeah.
grammatical to me.
Fine with those
Everybody
changes.
like that? Naheed?
Did you say that you wanted to change it to officers? I thought you wanted to keep it as chairman.
Well, they got officers as follows and then chairman, that was her suggestion, that's how I read that email. Does everybody read that way?
Yes.
I
Richard,
didn't
you
read it
got a
that
copy
way.
of this email? I think I got a spare.
Yeah.
I didn't read it that way. I read it that she said officers.
Well, I'll read it again. On the first line, executive board members, and then chairman should be changed to officers as follows, and then chairman. On the fourth line, she's going into the next line. The first part, I don't have a problem with.
Yeah, but she lowercase chairman, so she's not using the,
Well, if I look at our copy, okay, I'm using the ZBA December 2022. It's
Yeah,
got it there, it just says
I-
executive board members and then chairman lowercase. She just wants pretty much put officers as follows in there. That's how I read it.
Yeah, that's how I read it as well. Just change executive board members to officers as well.
Is that okay with you, Naheed?
Yes.
Okay, and then on the fourth line, board members immediately after elected board members rather than after alternate board members. It just seems like it's changing the order of it. 1, 2, 3, fourth line down, board members and or. No. The way we have it written makes sense to me. You want me to read it?
No, I think that the
I think I
she's
just
clarified the
didn't put when,
defined
yeah.
term
Yeah,
of board members.
yeah,
Okay,
I don't see a problem with it.
yeah, I don't either.
alright. Naheed? You go, you're good with, you're okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Check that off. So,
And
okay,
you
they
wanted
have,
to insert all, you wanted to insert all including inspection.
yeah, that's the next one down, we're not quite there yet, we're almost there. So, add, alright, see what she has in Brookfield Town Charter, section C3-2H to C7-6. I was wondering why she didn't put article, 6 in there, C7-1B. I could pull it up and read it in the town code. It just made more sense. The other two that she had in there as a reference were good, but I don't know why she didn't have C7-1B in there. Let me pull up.
Which wasn't there in our version.
Yeah, which wasn't there in ours. And then
Okay.
I caught it after I started looking into hers.
Okay,
Do you have the code in front of you?
I do not.
Let me pull it up. Hold on. I'll just read what it says. That one? Maybe I'll put like that. That's not. Yeah. Let's just go right to the town. Oops, that's easy for the town. Should have that there. Alright. Ordinances and charter. Now, I think it was in the charter, not the actual code. So C1, alright, C7.
7 to 6.
Yeah, I'm almost there. Okay, under general powers and procedures. And it was B. I'm gonna read B into the record. So this is C7-1B, which made sense to have it there, and I just saw it after her comments. Except as otherwise provided by law, all appointed board members and commissioners shall elect a chairman, a vice chairman, and a secretary by the end of February of each year. All boards and commissions shall make regulations and policy for the conduct of their meetings and the execution of their duties. Such regulations and policies and any amendments thereto shall be filed with the town clerk and shall be public in record. Any vacancy in any of the officers' position on any boards and commissions shall be filled by, they have on here majority vote of the members of such board or commission. But I was thinking if we're gonna add those references, we should add that reference in there too. What does everybody think?
Seems appropriate.
Yeah.
Sounds
I
fine.
don't see why not.
Can you
If we're
tell me
including the other one.
what
Alright, so it's
section that
C.
is?
It's Article 6,
Right.
C7-1B. Article, this is out of the,
Out of the, charter, right?
yeah, the charter, the code. Looks like it went from the charter right
It's
down
not
to the code.
article, no, it's article
It-
7, C7.
Is it article or section?
Yeah, section C7.
It's article
-1B.
7, it's C7-1B.
Okay.
Yeah, but isn't it funny at the top, so they got it, yeah, okay, alright, so, alright. Thank you, Carol.
So it's Article just,
Article
Article 7, appointed
7.
boards, commissions, committees, and authorities, that's the chapter title.
Yes.
Yes.
Appointed boards, commissions, committees, and authorities, it
That's
applies
it.
to all of them, across
Yeah.
the whole town, that's all.
Subsection C7-1B is in Bravo. Is that okay with you, Naheed?
Yes,
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, so you're adding that,
And is a reference next to her references on there?
very good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, and then I think we're down on 1B, right? Add when, after, however, on the third line.
Right.
Please also keep in mind that if more than one ZB member intends to visit the site at the same time, then announce in the meeting. It got cut off on here. But it would be a special meeting if more than one member went there. You'd have to-
More than two, so
Yeah, I don't think you even want two. For the site visit would constitute a
that's,
special meeting.
assuming if they went simultaneously.
Right, it's only
Right.
it's only if members went together to
Right.
see the property. It
You could-
would
It
have
would
to
be happenstance if we ran into each other.
Right, but it should
we
be,
just have to keep in mind, right, it's not something that we have to put down.
right, that's just,
Yeah.
the only actual note to change there was again just
The when.
grammatically adding
If you
when.
see two familiar faces there, just keep driving.
Just turn around and find a different turn.
It says,
Act like you don't know.
it says intends as well. It's
Yeah,
not-
yeah.
It doesn't say if you happen to be there, it says
Intend.
if you intend to go. So if you have a plan to go with somebody else,
Oh, okay.
then you need a
Mhm.
special meeting. Otherwise, it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, it's just, hey, I ran into Elijah, you happen to be there. I'm not gonna say anything more than hi. Okay, so everybody's fine with that?
Right.
Yeah, just add the when.
Yeah.
after however.
Yeah.
Naheed, you're good?
Yes,
Okay. All right, next one down is 3B. This is not an accurate statement of the law and imposes an unnecessary, oh, okay. This is, I wanted to discuss this one. Apparently, she liked the first part. This is mine and yours, Lisa? Part that you worked on this?
Are we on 3B?
3B.
Yeah, 3B. This is not accurate statement of the law.
No, I
Imposes
think that
unnecessary-
Lisa had, D. I think she worked on.
Oh, okay, yeah, this is a different one, this is the
Yeah.
electronic meeting in there. So this is not an accurate statement of law. Well, I read that was the governor's law passed last year, right,
Right.
beginning of, like, the prior year?
Right.
I don't really see what's wrong with how we have it there.
Mhm.
Not an accurate statement of the law and impose unnecessary burden on the town. Any board member must always be allowed to have any means, but that can be accomplished by a board member calling the meeting, participated by a speakerphone, if regular meeting is held solely by electronic. Member of the public may request a physical location, provision of electronic equipment, so that individual can attend the meeting. This request must be done hours, which it always is.
Mhm,
For example, Naheed, you knew ahead of time that you would have to call in here.
mhm.
This doesn't really tell me exactly what's not accurate about
No,
what
I
we
don't
wrote
think so
there.
either. I think she's just talking about the legalese on it, and
What do
we
you think,
kind of put it in
Lisa?
a paragraph that
Why would
just
you ask
states-
me?
Oh, no, that's at least,
Well, I think this, well, one, I don't know if it's necessary or, I think we should take the advice of the town's council. So she's saying it's not accurate, I'm not gonna challenge her on that.
yeah, but
But-
that is that public act, well, it's Public Act 22-3, and the bill was signed by Governor Lamont on April 28, 2022.
Okay, we don't know, I haven't looked at that since we first
Maybe
did
there is
this.
maybe it's in the law already, maybe we should just,
Yeah, I remember reading that
But
way
I-
back when it came out,
I
but,
guess it kinda goes back to what we started talking about before, I mean, when we looked at the bylaws, to begin with, half of the stuff in here was
Mm.
a directive to the
Opportunities.
land use, office, and it was inappropriate, because these are bylaws that govern us internally, and so, from that perspective, I mean, they should know what they have to do to accommodate our meetings, and to me, this
Why
has
even
no,
have it in there?
yeah,
Yeah, I agree, it seems if it's already in
It's about-
Connecticut
if it's
law,
already
there's
the
no
law, it's
reason
the law.
to
Correct.
add it into the bylaws as well. It needs to be followed regardless of if it's in the bylaws. You can just strike it from the bylaws.
What do you guys think? Naheed? The law is the law, it's already there. Do we really need it?
Yeah,
I think we put that in, did
yeah.
we not?
I think we added in way a long time ago, because we've been working on this so long, and it came
Yeah.
up, and we're like, oh, let's add it in there.
We
I
added
think-
it
yeah.
in some draft, but I think
But
at this point,
Now we really don't need
we
it, so
realize
strike
we
it?
don't need it.
Yes.
I think so.
Okay,
Naheed, you good with that?
Yes, yes.
Alright, conduct a meeting B, striking it. Okay. Okay. 3D, the second paragraph should be deleted because it prevents staff, okay, this was the one I was
yes.
gonna mention. I don't know if I agree with this, or maybe there's a better way to word it, I just like your wording better, Lisa.
Well,
So-
if she's saying it's problematic, I mean, I think we should heed her advice. I think,
She's good with the first sentence, she just doesn't like the second one. That's what she said in
Yeah.
here.
She has a problem with the second paragraph.
Yeah, she
Yes,
doesn't like, she
except
doesn't
as
like
expressed.
this.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
But
liked
yeah,
it.
Well, yeah, I would defer to
Leave
her
the
though,
first
but-
and,
yeah,
Delete?
it's yours, Lisa.
no, I think deleting is fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
strike
Just
that.
the second paragraph, right?
You know where we're at, right?
Yes, I'm following the email.
Okay, so
yes.
we'll keep the first paragraph, all training provided by the town of Brookfield Land Use
And delete
Officers.
the second.
And delete
Yes,
the second,
yes.
so strike it.
Yes, yes. I kinda agree too, if the council is saying no, you know, I think we flow with
I
that.
see your point.
Yeah, it's better to err on the side of caution for that.
Okay,
Yes,
I
yes.
think we get what we need from the first sentence.
yeah, sounds good to me. Elijah?
Sounds good.
Okay. Alright, moving on, number 4. I'm not sure to whom this section refers. The chairman cannot swear in other ZBA members. It never said that. I'm not sure what she's talking about here.
That might just be a.
Yeah,
misreading
this
of it.
is-
Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead, go ahead.
I think this was also from the original bylaws from the 70s,
Let me
something we
look.
kinda just
I'll look.
Yeah, if
I'll
you
look.
had.
One thing I do wanna add in there, because this is the law, and I'll read it out to you guys, in, section 8-5, it's literally in there. I'll pull it up real quick. The exact words, the section 8-5 is what covers like alternate members, then it goes into this section. So under the Connecticut General Statutes, I got that sucker. Alright, 8-5. I'll read the whole thing and then I'll speak a little louder on this section. Alright, Connecticut General Statutes, section 8-5, zoning board of appeals, alternate members. A, in each municipality having a zoning commission, there shall be a zoning board of appeals consisting of 5 regular members and 3 alternate members, comma, unless otherwise provided by special act. Such alternate members, also referred to as a panel of alternates, shall, when seated as herein provided, comma, have all the powers and duties set forth in the general statutes relating to the zoning board of appeals and their members. The regular members and alternate members of such zoning board of appeals shall be electors and shall not be members of the zoning commission, comma, any provision of any special act to the contrary notwithstanding. Such board and such panel of alternates shall, comma, unless otherwise provided by special act, be elected or appointed in such a manner for such terms as determined by each ordinance adopted by the municipality. Any vacancy in such board shall include any vacancy in a panel of alternates unless otherwise provided, in cities and boroughs. Such board by vote of its regular members only shall elect a chairman from among its members, comma, unless otherwise provided by special act, and all meetings of such boards, this is long, shall be held at the call of the chairman, and at such other times as board determines, and shall be open to the public. Here's the part. Such chairman, or in his absence, the acting chairman, may administer oaths and compel the attendance of witnesses. The board shall keep minutes of its proceedings, showing the vote of each member and each alternate member when seated upon each question or comma, if absent or failing to vote, comma, indicating such facts, and shall also keep records of its examinations and other official actions. Each rule or regulation, each amendment or repeal thereof, and each order, requirement, decision of board shall immediately be filed in the office of the board and shall be in public record. I think it's something that should be in there, even though it's very, very, very rarely used. That's how I feel.
I've never seen an oath required, but.
I've only heard of one in 15 years on the ZBA in Brookfield.
What was the circumstance?
I won't go into the exact case, but they had an applicant come in front of them, all the board members, and it ended up getting tabled. All the board members felt that the applicant wasn't being very, very truthful. The second time the applicant came back, the chairman swore him in, and as far as they knew, it was 100% the truth after that. Only once. That's the only one that I know of, but it was many years ago. But I think it should be in there, because it's the law.
And it was in the original.
Alan,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have a,
Yes, Rochelle. Do you have a
Thank you.
point of order, or you want to be recognized?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to be recognized, given the fact that I am your, in the absence of legal counsel, I am your staff member.
You are recognized.
Thank you, sir. So, first of all, on the one point, we just said that we don't need to put it in there because it's the law.
Mm.
Now we're saying, should we put it in, should we not put it in, even though it's the law? But my second point is that I think what Attorney Schellenberg is saying, if you read the second part of her comment, says that while in fact it may be within your right to, and your power to have people, to administer oaths, it has been understood by the courts that if you do that, you sometimes risk not getting an applicant to be forthcoming, because they then are suddenly kind of, withheld, and they're not gonna give you all the information that you may need to
I
make
understand.
your decision. So that's where Attorney Schellenberg has said, requiring testimony under oath may cause a witness to be less forthcoming than he or she otherwise would be. So in other words, as a quasi-judicial body, it might behoove you, and, this is of course for you to consider, but it might behoove you to, hope that the applicants are forthcoming with testimony rather than being, so cautious that they may not give you the full story. That's my comment. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome, and your point's well taken. However, here's my thinking on it. Let's say we had it, and it's something that's very rarely used, probably never, but it could be used, right? But if we have it in our bylaws, and our bylaws are posted online, and an applicant or whatever comes in front of us and they see it and they're thinking about, it's like one of those things, you put a video surveillance in, and it keeps the honest people honest, but the crooks are still gonna do something wrong. It's one of those things. They may see it in advance and say, you know what? Yeah, well, I better tell the truth there. I'm talking about a person who's thinking about not telling the truth because they read it somewhere in the bylaws. And it's something that would be very rarely used. That's what I'm thinking. And if it's in the bylaws, really only we know about it unless somebody goes and they read it and we know the law. I didn't learn that until I read it, when I first got elected and started reading stuff and read that section 8.5 and I said, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't even know that until I did my homework on it.
My inclination would be to say, better to add than to delete things.
Not needed.
In the sense that, the way the bylaws hopefully would function is that it's a handy reference for the board when issues come up. And rather than having to go to the
Read the
city code
statute.
or looking at statutes, they have something available to you. So the fact that something is in the law is not an argument against putting it in the bylaws, in my opinion, because a certain redundancy in this case is beneficial.
I
Because
agree.
it gives you handy guidance in the moment. So the question is there any harm in putting it in the bylaw? I can't think of any, since it's a
It's who's
legal
gonna-
option that's available in the rare case that something might come up, but that would be my inclination.
agree. Members and future members are gonna be the ones that read it, one second, so, right?
Yeah.
And if it's posted online and somebody happens to go in and says, oh, let me read the ZBA's bylaws, they might read it. I would have never thought to do that, but they might. It's really for members now and members in the future.
I just wanna draw one distinction between being and law, whereas before, we were talking about the law and the requirements governing the land use office, whereas this governs our behavior. So
Right.
there's something a little
Governance
different.
procedure in this.
Yeah, for us.
I agree.
Yeah, like we said, it doesn't change the authority the board has, whether it's in the bylaws or not, because it is a state statute. So I think it is good for it to be in the bylaws, because again, as, I mean, at least when I first became a member and was given the bylaws, that's kind of what you go off to say of, okay, well, what's the procedure, what can we do, what authority, that's where
That's
you
where I
learn how
started.
the meeting
Yeah.
is run in as basic a terms as possible, before digging into the statutes and getting into the very legalese details of it. So I think it's useful to, even if this section doesn't specifically grant the board any power it didn't already have, it would allow new members to realize that they do, on the rare circumstances where it's needed, have that authority.
Yeah, I think so. I think we should add that the Connecticut General Statute 8-5 in there. I don't think we have it as a reference.
You should
I
vote
would just,
yes.
I would just say as a kind of counter argument, if we put this in the bylaws, so let's just say for the sake of argument that you wanna use that, and somebody lies, then what?
I mean, technically,
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I don't understand why, if the lawyer's saying we don't need this, and we're saying there's already a law that says we can do this. I mean, I guess if you wanna put in the bylaws, fine, but I don't understand what the point is.
well, as I understand the statute, and I'd have to ask, and I might ask our land use director here, or ask an attorney, but lying under oath to us is basically the same as lying under oath to a judge or something.
But we're
Not
not-
that somebody's not gonna do something about it, but.
Yeah, I think it would be
I don't know
an
what the teeth is
intimidation.
behind it.
It would be
Right,
an
exactly, it's
intimidation.
intimidation.
Yeah.
That's not what, I don't know
I
if
mean,
that's what the lawyer's
liars
saying.
will liars. Liars will
Right,
always
if somebody's
be-
gonna lie,
yeah.
they're gonna lie. I
Yeah.
think that's what the lawyer's saying is.
The honest people will always be honest, but the dishonest people, at least maybe they'll think twice if they even bother reading that.
In that case, maybe, in that case, don't we have to take this all the way up to the Connecticut General Assembly and say, why the heck did you give the board authority to do this in the first place if it doesn't matter? Like,
Well,
if
I think you're overlooking the psychological effect on someone of being asked to say something under oath
Right.
versus just saying something informally. And, I agree with what you're saying in some sense, and as a, if somebody were committed to being deceptive, they could be deceptive under oath as well as any other circumstance, and there's probably very little that we could do about that potentially. But it does adds a little kind of imprimatur authority to the process that I think is not harmful, and could potentially be helpful. The chance that it's gonna be actually used is probably very.
I only heard of once in like 15 years.
Yeah.
But there's
Which
no
is
requirement
very
that they have to, you have to come before the ZBA under, being under oath. So if we say, okay, we're gonna put you under oath, and they say no, okay.
They say no, they say no.
They say
Yeah,
no.
they say no.
Then we don't have to hear their
Yeah.
application,
Right.
yes, right?
we could take
Well, we
that
still
into-
have to, we
we
still have to hear their
We take
application.
that-
You can
we
take
Because
take
it
there's
that
no
as-
law requiring
that
them
they-
to go under oath. So if they say, here's my application, and we say, okay, I wanna ask you this question under oath, and they say no, we say, okay.
I guess
What
we
was
can
it?
take that into consideration.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Michelle, I know you wanted to chime in, is it okay, Bev? Please, go ahead, Michelle.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just suggesting really that, number one, as I said before, and I think, you, addressed
Mr.
this
Briggs.
already, Mr. Briggs, but, with regard to, what the statutes say versus what the, your bylaws say. I mean, the bylaws, I agree, you know, what they should do is be a kind of a shorthand reference, so that you don't have to constantly refer to the statutes, like, okay, it's here, so if so if you wanna administer oaths, you know, put that in then, I completely agree. I just think that, you know, although you're apparently allowed to administer oaths, and compel the attendance of witnesses. So what does that mean? Issue a formal subpoena?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've never heard of this in my entire, well, of course, I've only been doing this for 7 years, so what would, you know, maybe perhaps I missed it,
You have to ask a lawmaker
you know,
to find that one for us.
you know, so
Or
it's
the
just,
town attorney.
but nonetheless, you know, if you feel that you, my concern with that is though that, you know, if you don't administer these oaths kind of, equally, like, okay, we're gonna compel this guy to take an oath, you know, we wanna know, and then, you know, you forget about it for the next guy. Oh, well, you know, we believe him, he's honest, you know.
Yeah,
That's
if
another
I
concern.
thought about exactly what you said, and if, let's say that came up and we had 4 applicants in front of us, I would just put all 4 on an oath, just to be fair and honest. That's what I would think, if that ever came up on that super rare occasion
Yeah,
at a specific meeting.
I see what she's saying though, because if you do compel one person to make an oath and not other people, and
Doesn't look
they
right.
decided, if we deny them and then they decide to take it to court, can they say, well, they were
Yeah.
compelling me, that shows bias because they didn't compel
Yeah,
anyone
but that's what I
else?
was just gonna say with the
It
bias.
does, if
But
we only
like-
compel one person.
If that ever came up, I
Something
would
must
just-
have happened in that
Right.
meeting, that we are deciding to not,
Yeah,
to not trust this person, this witness.
I know, hopefully it's something that
So,
never
I
has
mean,
to come
the
up.
bias is right there, I mean,
Right.
They
we don't
people
believe you,
always
we
lie.
don't believe you.
They always lie. I mean,
So,
We-
it
we
it
know
seems to
that.
me that since everybody likes it, I'd like to keep it in there, but I'd like to add the reference of Connecticut General Statute 8-5, if that's okay with everybody.
In addition to the, section 1-24.
Yeah, leave it in as is, but we've gotta
Okay.
add Connecticut General Statute 8-5, because that's exactly the law that I found.
Which
Yes.
responds in a sense to the attorney's
Yeah,
point.
Say that
question.
again, say
Yeah.
that again, statute, what
So
what is the
Connecticut
number?
General Statute 8-5.
8-5.
Yeah, I don't wanna count the lines and paragraphs down, she can read it, but it's there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
well, it would come up differently.
Ninth line.
Yeah, might come up.
Okay, that's.
Oh, yeah,
I
depending on
just-
how she's looking at it, but it's
Yeah,
the ninth
desktop.
line down. Okay, so,
Okay.
Naheem, you
So-
okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I just wanted to say that as a board, there are plenty of other boards in the town too. Do they have something like this?
No.
Are
No.
are we doing something different here?
Well, it's because we are different, and the law gives us that ability. We're a quasi judicial body. But like zoning or wetlands can't put somebody under oath, but we can. That's really the difference that I see under that statute.
Okay. I don't have a problem with adding it.
Okay.
I just wanted to understand.
Yeah, and the oath itself was the generic oath right out of the statute I found. That was used, 125 under forms of oaths, which states as follows: you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, comma, as the case may be, comma, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury. So that's okay. Let's keep it, but add Connecticut General Statute
Yeah, I got
8-5
that.
as a reference.
Got
I mean, I would think as a practical matter, probably how that would come up would be if somebody is giving us data or giving a report of something and it just isn't making full
Right.
sense, or there's some discrepancy, and probably the most reasonable response would be to table any decision about it so that it could be discussed further, and then maybe that would create the context, so to speak, for requiring somebody to give the information under oath.
I think that's the exact context that
Yeah,
one
that's
situation like
eloquently put.
10,
Mr.
15 years
Joyce.
ago came up. Exactly like
Yeah,
that.
okay,
Okay, everybody's with
all
that?
right.
What's the
And
next
let's
question?
go for the last one,
I'm
I
not sure,
think.
okay, so that's good. On the first line, the word clear should be deleted.
Right.
The legal, see, I like clear, and I can tell you exactly who I got that word from. I kinda like that.
Are you looking at me like I gave you the word?
I stole it from you, I think.
I don't remember. over
you said it in a
I
meeting.
think a conflict is a conflict.
Yeah.
I see why she wants to delete it. We could quibble over what does clear mean.
All
Isn't
right,
it
I don't
broader to
care.
have a conflict without I don't know.
Well, I think we're to clear, you know where it came up? I think we were
Qualifying.
a while ago, we were discussing this section, right? And I brought up when I had to recuse myself. I said, hey, it's somebody that, in business, in town of Brookfield, I do a lot of business. But I went out, I gave the person a proposal, I don't do any business with them, nothing was going on, I wasn't sure. I went to the chairman first, and he's like, well, Alan, you don't know. And sometimes it's the appearance of it, sometimes conflicts aren't completely clear. So you have to do what you feel is best, and I said, all right, that's it. And
But
then,
that's what we learned in the conflict of interest in our,
yeah, in the class.
In the webinar. I mean, so it's,
Oh,
it's
that's a good
fine.
thing to bring up. I actually
If
made a
you-
note on that.
Yes,
The attorney
Yeah,
Roberts
I'm okay,
said,
clear,
Yeah.
not clear,
Attorney
whatever. I
Roberts
did
said
get
that
that
if
from
you
you though. I heard you
feel-
say it, and I said, oh, that sounds good, clear.
She seems to be saying, if I understand it correctly, that clear necessarily narrows the ground upon which recusal can be claimed. In other words, if it's an appearance of conflict, that's a broader category than a clear conflict, which is a narrower
Yeah.
category.
Yeah.
So I think her version of it would mean recusal could be used more frequently or generally where the conflict is not necessarily clear, like in evidence, but there's a, you know.
Yeah, I wrote a note here.
I
Let me just grab it real
I
quick.
think I agree with Mr. Briggs
Yeah.
what he just said.
I agree with him.
I agree. I agree too.
Yeah.
Let me see the part, I just made myself a note, and it was from the training class the other night. I wrote, I disagree, see my notes on questions during training class. So my notes on my clear, alright, clear, you hold this, okay. She gave some examples of, the gentleman, the lawyer that was teaching it, he gave some examples of conflict of interest, a close personal friendship, personal has to, but it's not always, which I found interesting that he said, it's not always a conflict of interest. It has to be greater, the conflict has to be greater than what the community at large or a substantial portion of it would gain from whatever's going on. It was kinda tricky in that training
It
class.
was,
You remember
but
that,
he made
Naheed?
it very clear,
When he
he
was-
made it very clear.
Yeah, and he said there's
I
perceived,
do. I think the word clear is narrowing, I agree.
Yeah,
We
I
should
agree.
take it out. That's
But I
what
think the rest of
Yeah.
the
delete
rest-
clear.
Yeah, we will delete it. Okay.
Alright. Let me
All right,
find,
and
where is that at?
I think that's it, huh?
Is that the last?
Section eight,
Oh, wait.
first line.
Which one?
It's, section 8, right, first line?
Okay. 5, 6, 7, 8, first, clear. Oh, yeah, the one I did in bold. I'd strike it.
Okay. And I think that's it of.
Wait, hold on a second. Go to order of hearing cases. This is not on her notes. Any questions on Attorney Schellenberg's notes?
No.
Okay. This one was my note. Under order of hearing cases, we spoke about it last meeting. I wanted to flip-flop 2 and 3 because that's the way I've basically been doing it for a year. That's, the applicant or appellant always presents the argument in favor of his case first, and then the communication in favor or opposition are read into the record.
Okay.
You okay with that, Naheed? So flip-flopping 2 and 3.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and then I wanted to add, it should be in here on number 7, which is the end part. The applicant shall have the final opportunity to speak before the public hearing is closed.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is everybody okay with adding that in there? So it's a number 7. That make sense, Elisha?
Yes, sir.
So applicant shall have a final opportunity to speak before the public hearing is closed. Are you okay with that, Naheed?
Yes.
Okay, so that's okay. And this is okay. I think that's it for the bylaws. Do we wanna, you are recognized. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for recognizing me, Rochelle Hodson, the Land Use Director. I just wondered if you wanted to put, maybe include 4 of this kind of standard headings of bylaws, which would be number 1, the purpose, the purpose of the zoning board of appeals. Number two, the authority, what gives you the authority to act as your
The
acting.
sections.
Number three, the name, the official name of your organization, which may be clear, obviously zoning board of appeals, but nonetheless should be stated in the bylaws. And number four, the offices of the board. In other words, if someone wanted to communicate with you, where are your records held? So typically that
Phone
would be
number,
something
land
like,
use office, stuff like
something like,
that.
the office of the board shall be in the office of the land use department of Town Hall, 100 Mill Road, Brookfield, Connecticut, 06804, where all board records shall be kept. You know, something like that. So, you know, typically those are the first four big headings of all bylaws of
I almost think that
commissions.
we had that and we took it out.
Yeah, was that on the original one?
Yes.
Wait,
I don't know,
I'd have to
I
go
just
back and
saw
look at the
the left
original
in
one.
the
No,
ones
we're-
you sent to Barbara.
No, I'm
That's all.
talking to the board
Responsible.
members.
Yeah.
We had that in and we took it out.
Did we?
Did we?
Yeah.
I don't think that
Yeah,
doesn't
because
sound
I
familiar,
remember-
but I like the.
Maybe it's
Some of
confusing.
it sounds familiar, but from the
Yeah,
way
well,
back
if you
original
look-
ones.
I don't have it.
So something for, like, for example, number two, the authority, the zoning board of appeals, the board, quote, the board, of the town of Brookfield, quote, the town, is authorized by and derives its powers primarily from chapters 124 and 126 of the Connecticut General Statutes, Article C of the town charter, section 74-1 of the town code, all as amended from time to time, together with other relevant laws and regulations passed, promulgated, and or amended from time to time. So some language like that to indicate, you know, where you derive your authority from, so that people could look up not only the statutes, the relevant statutes, but also the sections of the charter and the town code that are relevant.
Your point is well taken. I like it. Can we, can you print that for us?
Sure,
Thank you, Ms.
yes, you're
Michelle.
welcome, yeah.
Does everybody like that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was thinking we have to do some tweaks anyways on this. Maybe we'll take a motion to table this, we'll get that information.
Sounds like we're getting closer, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we're really close. And then we'll get that to the secretary, who can have it all ready for us at the next meeting. And hopefully, we can just vote and have bylaws. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Great.
Does that sound good to you, Naheen?
Yes, it does.
All right, do you wanna email that
Sure.
over to
My
the
pleasure.
secretary? Thank you
Yes,
very
Mr.
much,
Chairman.
Michelle. All right, I'll take a motion to table would somebody like to make a motion to table the bylaws?
So moved.
Okay, do we have
Second.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Tabling the bylaws till next meeting, and we'll go over it. I like
Once
that.
again.
All right, let me find my agenda. Thanks, yeah, I made it bigger here for myself. Okay, informal discussion, review of section 5.1 side yard setback none. For whatever reasons, I'm not gonna get into details, but the last two meetings, our question never really made its way over to zoning. And I guess the proper procedure is to put it in a letter, kinda like we were thinking about the first time. And it will be put on their agenda and then brought up under correspondence. So, if you guys remember that letter from last time, it got redrafted about 6 times for me. But Alan has right here. One for you. One for you. One for you. Nahid, I got one for you, but you're not here, but we can read it. Mr. Briggs? Mr. Hughes?
Well, I could see that everything I did is not even in here.
No, I
Don't
tweaked a
ask me to
couple
do
of
it
things
again.
on it, it's not
Don't
perfect.
ask me to do
This
it again.
actually, Michelle?
This is your
This
original.
is gonna be for you. The ones that give this to you now. Okay, so, I can read it back in the a lot of it is the original, there is some slight tweaking to it. And everybody's on this. Okay, you want me to read it into the record?
Please.
I'll read it in the record.
Please, Shay.
Today's date, February 6, 2023, from the Brookfield Zoning Board of Appeals to the Brookfield Zoning Commission. Attention Chairman Gary Getz, Vice Chairman Bashenda Komar, Secretary Andy Kane, regular member Darrell Pratt, regular member Phoebe Holmes, alternate member Curtis Timmerman, alternate member Mike Lucia, and alternate Gwen Arment. We thank you for your response provided by your alternate member, however, it does not answer the crux of our question in the context of which we asked. That is in 5.1, echo the TCD/TCDP What is the exact meaning and original intent of none/0 inches side yard setback, and how does it protect the lives, safety, and general welfare and property values of the residents of all single-family homes in the TCD/TCDP map overlay zone in the town of Brookfield? If it's accurate or not, or maybe it's a typo. Please see the September 6, 2022 ZBA meeting at which we granted a variance that stays with land in perpetuity in the TCDP, and found out the next day that apparently due to this confusing regulation, the applicant never needed to come before us in the first place. Also, please see the November 7, 2022 ZBA meeting. As this is not the first ambiguous regulation we found in 5.1 Echo, we highly suggest an in-depth review and possible amendments to the entire TCD/TCDP, all sections, and in particular 5.1 Echo, special districts of our zoning relations, so we can hopefully avoid this confusion in the future and continue to protect the citizens of Brookfield, which we all swore an oath to do. We appreciate your prompt response of clarification in writing from all the regular members of the commission. Respectfully submitted, Zoning Board of Appeals, 100 Pocono Road, Brookfield, Connecticut, 06804. Chairman Alan Donick, Vice Chairman Carl Hinger, Secretary Janet LaForgia, regular member Lisa Temple, regular member Naheed Kaiser, alternate member Larry Rushmeyer, alternate member Richard Briggs, alternate member Elijah Hewling III.
Okay,
CC.
typo,
Several,
Right.
three,
my
three
last
exactly.
name,
3 typos.
I
Yours?
messed up. Whose last name did I mess up?
my name.
One, Quasar is also misspelled, and also,
Oh my God, I'm horrible.
And also Mike Lucia is Lucia, like La Forja,
Lucia.
La Lucia and La Forja.
Okay.
La Forgia,
It will be fixed.
F-O-R-G-I-A.
And Quasar, I believe, is Quaisar, if I'm not mistaken.
Quaisar.
I forgot your
just-
I. I'm sorry, Naheed. I apologize.
Okay. No,
And then
no
CC
worries.
Town Clerk's office. That can be fixed. That can be fixed.
Just reading this, Mr. Chairman, with the capital letters and the bold writing, I'm not really sure what we were asking as I was reading this, it more seems like we're preaching than
Well,
actually asking a question.
It may seem that way, but let me tell you something, Elijah. I went to their meeting, the meeting where they answered this,
Right, I
and
remember
then
we talked about
right,
it.
and then I also watched their meeting after that. They had something come up in their meeting, which actually Mr. Timmerman spoke at, but they had something come up in their meeting that he said, listen, there were some mistakes made back when they did, I guess it was in the end of 2017, 2018. They had a company, we hired, the town paid them $75,000 to redo a big section of it. And I guess they're finding multiple errors in it. And not only did he say that they found other multiple errors in it, but Commissioner Timmerman was like, well, you know what? I think we're gonna find more in the future. And I got a feeling that this is another one of them. That's what I think and what I'm getting at. So I'm trying to key in.
I understand all that, but when we say this is not the first ambiguous regulation, we highly suggest an in-depth review. We can hopefully avoid this confusion and in the future and continue to protect the citizens of Brookfield, of which all swore an oath to do. It's kind of almost reads to me like we're saying they're not doing some of these things and you're not doing, listen, we
Okay.
see that you guys messed up and we need to fix it. I just feel like the way that it's worded is
Alright.
coming off very aggressive. And that's just my opinion, just reading,
I agree
again,
with you.
and I think the
Okay.
capitals and
I
the
agree
bold
too.
and
I would
things
like
like
to
that.
compliment you.
All right, so I'll tell you what, it'll be redone, and then why don't I email it out to everybody, because I wanted to try to get it over to them, but it'll be redone, will be softened. We'll take out, the last part that you just spoke about.
And the end of that second paragraph, what are we trying to say? Because that's not a complete sentence. If it's accurate or not, or maybe it's a typo.
Or maybe it's a
Yeah, I
typo.
don't like that.
Yeah, I was just
Wording.
putting in my exact wording of back when I did the original, motion to send it over to them, that's how I spoke it. But we could get rid of the typo part.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Well, it's just,
I think
it's
you
not a
can-
complete sentence.
I think you can
It's
cut
an
that
thought.
incomplete
I
sentence.
think you
Cut
can
it
cut
out.
that whole sentence, it's the
I don't think
question.
it's professional.
Okay,
Yeah, let's put it that way.
Strike.
I mean, I have to say, I did this letter for him and he just
yeah, I
did
know.
not do what I did, so this is yours.
All right,
Because
It
my
will-
letter
it will be
was
softened.
professional.
May I ask the,
On you.
may I ask the land use secretary a quick question? Do you happen to know the date of the next, meeting? I know they have one right
Thursday the
now.
9th.
Yeah, but not,
Oh, the one after that's
not
right
this
there. Mr.
Thursday.
Chairman, notice the calendar behind you. It's, so it'd be March 9th?
March
I'm
9th.
sorry.
Okay.
Where are we today? I'm sorry, where are we? No, forgive me, it's the 27th of February.
The
It says
27th.
ZC,
Oh,
February.
is that when
February
the,
23rd.
I'm sorry, I can't see,
Right.
23rd.
Anything you wanna put on their agenda, you have to have a week before that, right?
They prefer it. They could add it to the agenda, but if you wanna be sure to,
Okay, so by the 20th. This will be retweet and emailed out to everybody to see if they like it. And then if everybody says, hey, you know what, that's much better, we'll print it, get it to Rochelle so she can have it to them by that meeting, the 27th meeting. Does
Yeah,
that sound?
but Mr. Chairman, just point
Yes,
of order here, it's really Mr. Lawley that's the zoning enforcement officer
Hmm.
on the wetlands.
Give it to him?
I mean, it's not,
Well, and if I just met, Mr. Chairman, if you might consider recognizing me one more time, I'd.
You are recognized.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I would just say that, I believe that as I understand it, what seems to us perhaps here in rural Brookfield, or at least suburban Brookfield, as a kind of, unusual, very unusual, regulation, that is zero setback,
That's,
is in fact, I think, the driving force of that was that it may be the case at some point where, you know how in, I don't know, Danbury, wherever you may go, I mean, buildings in the commercial district are literally butted up against one another.
right.
hold on a second, I'm gonna interrupt you. It's not just a commercial district. The TCD is the federal road section, TCDP is right behind there, and there is exactly, I counted 40 single-family homes there. The eastern side is R40 zoning, the western side is R60 zoning. So to think of, which really is the way it is now, to have a zero side yard setback in those, and what people thought they were, is like, whoa, wait a minute, something's not right. That's the point I
Right,
want
well, I think,
clarification on.
I think you're raising the question, was this an unintended consequence?
It was indeed, Mr. Briggs,
Right.
exactly that.
And that's the question. I guess I would just put it as a simple question, because we, as the people having to grant, or given the responsibility of granting variances, could end up in situations where, like this one, and we need to know if this was an unintended consequence, which then requires their correction, if that's the case. So that's really that seems to me the heart of the issue here.
Yeah, I agree.
That's precisely
So,
it.
Yeah, it's
ask them
important.
if it's intended that it applies to single-family houses.
so,
in the
Mr.
area.
Briggs, so we should, we
That's
should
why I
keep it
asked
as a
about
one
single family.
paragraph.
I would, yeah.
Keep it sweet.
yeah.
All right, how about if I promise to listen to Janet this time?
No, I'm not going to even, I'm not touching it.
Okay.
Do
Keep
we
it-
all have to sign it?
keep it
Maybe
short.
that's the question.
Well, I wanted it to be from all of us. We all voted to forward the question over to them, and never really got to them, the easy, just the regular question, so we gotta put in a letter.
No,
I'd
if it's a
like
one
for-
paragraph, I will,
If it's a short,
And it's-
sweet, one
it's-
paragraph,
and it's done in a professional manner and
yeah, I
not
mean, I guess I could just write
because
the
it
letter
sounds
easier and send it,
personal.
but I'd rather it be from all of us, because all of us, this is what came in front of us. And we all need clarification on it.
Is this a matter for
Do you wish to be
the zoning-
recognized?
Yes, Mr.
You are
Chairman.
recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Is this in fact, a normal, course of action for a commission, for the zoning board of appeals commission?
Absolutely. If there's, and we ran into this once before, way back in the beginning when we started, it was in January or so. We had a question on something, and it happened to be on 5.1 Echo, and we did get an answer back on it. One, it was two questions that we sent over to them on 5.1 Echo. One of them, I think that they were okay with, wasn't a big deal. The other one, they're still working on, and they wanted to put it into a group of some changes that they're gonna make. But anytime something comes on, we have the right, if we don't understand something, and we have to basically rule on it with applications and stuff, we need clarification on it. So we have the right to ask them, we can't change it ourselves. But,
Right, but you, why don't you explain how that what was that, address that we were, we had
I
granted
think it was
them the
81 Moore
variance?
Hill, I believe it was 81
Right.
Moore Hill Road.
Well, it wasn't even the right zone that you granted it, I mean, but that was
Right.
Mr. Lawley's fault,
Well-
because he didn't direct the applicant to the
Yeah, I
right
don't
zone.
wanna point any blame at people or anything, well, it's funny, because if you go on the GIS and you look at that thing, until you click the map overlay, it says R40 and R60. So even the homeowners there, for 40 people, I went back and counted, I think they still think they're in that zone.
Hmm.
That's what I really think. I don't know if that would be part of the clarifications, hey, way back when we redid this, we sent it out to all 40 of homes that are in that area, which I guess would be the legal thing to do. By the way, your whole entire zone is changing. I don't know if that was done. I actually went back, and January of 2018 is as far back as you can go into the videos and read the minutes from the zoning commission meetings. I read some of it. I don't know, it wasn't good, it didn't make sense to me, and I wish I could've gone back farther on it and seen what it was, and then only that one commissioner, Mr. Timmerman, was there way back when. And him himself, if you watched the 2 meetings ago, he was, look, we found problems, paid $75,000 to have it done right, and they're finding nothing but, they're finding lots of problems in it. And the other thing he said is, we'll find more in the future, which worries me.
Hmm.
So
So
there,
you're saying that the homeowners might, I mean, you're more or less kind of helping the homeowners in that district.
well, I think it's clarification for the
Yes,
homeowners as
yes.
well, but if something like that comes in front of us,
Right,
at least we'll know,
right.
at least we'll know how to look at it. All right, I promise to shorten that really, really short.
One paragraph?
I'll try to get it to
Can
one
we do it?
paragraph, is that okay, Naheed? And then I'll email it out, and if everybody likes it, then I'll print it,
Yes.
and I'll hand it to Fran, who will, I guess, give it to Amy, put it on their agenda, and it will go under correspondence. It'll actually get in front of them. And then the balls, whatever, however they respond, they respond.
Sounds good.
Is that good? Is that good with everybody?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds
But,
good.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
I just wanted to know, I'm
You
sorry.
wish to be recognized, ma'am.
Yes.
You are
Mr. Chairman.
recognized.
Thank you. I just want to be certain that, for example, people who are not here and cannot weigh in on this, if, maybe you should get their permission to have their name included on this. For example, Mr. Rushmeyer.
Mr. Osborne?
His name is
I will
on-
find out about that. Is everybody
So
okay with having their name on
if
it?
everyone in fact
As long as they
wants to be-
shorten it, way
Doesn't
shorter.
necessarily have to be from everyone.
I might
Does-
include
I
a
think if we can all
dissenting
see the letter
paragraph.
before it goes out.
Oh,
I would
absolutely,
like to see the letter before, yeah.
absolutely, 100%.
Can we
That was
just
actually-
say
Go ahead.
ZBA
I-
commissioners?
Well, I just wanted
Board
to,
members?
Rochelle's point, that was a comment that was brought up with the last version of the letter last meeting, is that it only included the 5 regular members, and there was a comment that
Yeah, everybody's
the
on here
alternate
now.
members also
Well-
wanted a voice on the.
No, I agree, that was my mistake, I apologize for that.
It was also a broader comment from me that I feel like the alternates have been put in the back seat a bit, and I
Not
think
here,
they're here for the,
not here, Lisa. We're all included.
They bring
We all have a voice.
oftentimes more value than regular members,
We
so
all have a voice.
I just wanna make sure that they're included.
Oh, that's not
They
my
are.
question at all. It has
Yeah,
nothing to do with
they
whether
are.
or
I
not, but
agree.
And will be,
just,
promise.
Right.
for example, if, Mr. Rushmeyer, who's not here, didn't wanna be on the,
Yeah,
named
fair,
specifically.
fair.
I'll find out from Larry.
Yeah. From everyone, I think.
Everybody is, well, it's gonna go back around.
And if anyone doesn't want to be included in the letter, you can still there's no reason you can't
Correct.
still send the letter.
Correct.
You can just
Right.
leave their name off it if they
Absolutely.
don't
Well,
want
I
to be
don't know
included.
if I
I wanted
think we are
everybody to be on it
okay.
because it
No,
affects-
I don't agree with that. If someone has a problem with the letter, then we have to just debate this. No, and I don't think necessarily we should all be listed. I mean, we should just say, ZBA board members or commissioners, that's it. I mean, I don't know why we have to, put everybody out there. I mean, as a team, we're a team. If we all feel that way, then that's the way it should be.
Or Commissioner Briggs can write a dissenting opinion. Okay, I will get that done, I promise, and get it over to everybody. This was,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, may I say, that everything
Yes,
we
ma'am.
do here is over and tabled and over and, I mean, even with the
Bylaws?
bylaws, I mean, I'm sick of looking at them.
I understand.
We went to the town attorney, we agreed on that, she emailed me her changes, and we should abide by it. Just make the changes and life goes on.
Okay, well,
It's not, this is becoming, very tiring.
I understand.
I'm sorry,
I understand.
I don't mean to be disrespectful,
You're not.
but, I mean, even with the letter, I understand what you're referring to here, I really do, and I
It's a
almost,
little long-winded though, I'll
and I
admit that.
almost agree with it, but you have to say it where it's not personal.
I got you.
Just, this is what we think, and we think it, not that we should you should correct it, but put it in a way where, it's softer, like you said.
I
And
promise to
then
do that.
let's move on. I mean, let's move on.
I promise to do that. Okay. Discussion of land use training requirements per Connecticut statute, section 9 of Public Act 20-21. I think we all know it. I'll open it up for discussion. I just had one question I was actually gonna ask our land use director, since she was in the room right here. But as I understand the act, 4 hours of training is good for 2 years. That's what my question was. So like, if people are taking the new class, the 3 Thursdays in a row one, although I don't think they have a way to verify it other than we can give you a copy of, hey, we made it to the class, Rochelle. Go
Didn't
ahead.
he say that I'm trying to think of his name, the professor, well, he was a lawyer too.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, he said that
Richard Roberts.
Richard Roberts was the lawyer who was giving the lesson.
Okay.
I'm talking about the narrator.
Oh, Dave Dixon.
Yeah, Dave
Okay.
Dixon. I think he said that if you call them, they'll certify that we got the credits or whatever. But I didn't take the first course. So this was like an advanced course. And I don't know about the first course.
Well, we did have an email that went back through that I believe Amy sent to me. She forwarded it from Rochelle about additional training and stuff like that. Did everybody get that email?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's an additional, I think it was their 101 class
right.
on land use,
right.
land use
Well,
101.
that's right. We could
Which,
go
by
on
the
the
way, is
website.
online. I found that
Right.
class.
Yeah, I think you sent it to me, Gina.
Yeah. I found that class way back, like January last year. It was a short class, it was pretty cool. It was online, you could just watch it and answer the questions at the end.
Did anybody else take the class?
We need to.
Okay, I would have loved to get your, you did. I would like to chair
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
yeah.
You are recognized, the chair recognizes Ms. Hudson.
What
Ms.
do you
Rochelle.
think, can I ask, what did you think of the class?
Thank you. There's a number of things I'd like to say about this. You're all on the right track, your hearts are in it, and that's good. We wanna comply with regulations. First of all, the whole entire program is at this juncture, the honor system. So you say you took the class, you tell me or Amy in your case, because Amy would be your administrative assistant, it's just gonna keep a running list of each person on the commission, when they took which classes, how many credits they, how many hours they actually took to satisfy. You are correct, if you take them this year, it's good for 2 years. So every 2 years, 4 hours of training. One of them must include affordable housing.
That's the
So-
third part, I think,
That's
of
the
this
third,
class,
yeah.
the
So
third
if
version.
you must miss any of those that are kind of online, like live, synchronous classes, you can simply watch the video later and take the course and just tell us that you did. So it is in fact honor system. However, I will be required in March of this coming year, 2024, to report to the Office of Policy Management, who took what courses and how, who completed how many courses, basically.
So let me ask you a question, Michelle. So, for example, the new class that's out right now, the first one, the 3 Thursday class, let's say whatever members take that, they complete it. we can print out like a copy of our email stating that, whatever, we're at the
No,
class
she
and
said
signed up
to
for
her,
class.
just Amy Curran.
Just tell her,
Email her, yeah.
Michelle,
I'll
I
do
took
that
this class,
tomorrow.
this class, and this class.
Yeah,
Tell Amy.
Amy,
Amy.
okay.
So it may be in the future, if I'm still recognized, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
that,
you are.
that, you know, that there will be more, you know, stringent requirements, but for the time being, frankly, there's simply no people in OPM that time to like, you know. So,
Okay.
you know, this is the way we're doing it for now. Obviously, I think, as some of you know, especially when you're new, it's nice to take these classes because it's an eye opener, and for myself even, every time I watch one of these things, it's like, oh my gosh, right, I remember now.
I liked the class last Thursday.
So
I thought it was
it's
a
very
good
useful,
class.
but so really, at this juncture, all you need to do is, if you miss an online class that's being given, you know, synchronistically, whatever they're calling it nowadays, then simply take it later, it's usually, you know, download or upload or whatever, and you can watch it at your own, on your own time, but then do report to Amy so she can keep the running tab for March of next year.
If I may say, did you think it was a little long-winded?
Oh, they always are, these are
Oh.
lawyers. It's like, come on, it's like, you know.
You know, Holloway and Sage is a very good law firm.
It is.
And I thought Attorney Roberts and he actually said it, so he probably knew. But I think it could have been, I mean, it went to 6 o'clock.
Well, that's why you watch it later and put it on playback speed 1.5, because then you get it in, you know, half an hour.
Oh, well. You
Thank-
know these
thank you, Rochelle.
shortcuts.
Yeah.
Okay, yes,
I was saying, that was a good tip.
Yeah.
all right,
Is that it?
any questions on that?
I have my
The discussion on land use training requirements, or you got that, Naeem?
I'm good.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna move on, discussion of additional ZBA responsibilities as of 2021. I didn't know this one, kind of found it by accident, that's why I started asking questions on it. I happen to know that Commissioner Temple has dealt with this before.
Just once,
Mm.
yeah, the Blasius, auto dealership on Federal Road.
Does anybody have any questions? Let's open up for discussion. And
Yeah,
if
I
I'd like to
have
run
a question. So Lisa, you've come across this before?
Just the one
Is it
time.
just to get a certificate? So what do you do to get a certificate? Do you go there, do you look at to see if they're observing all of the laws, if it's clean, you know, if it's this?
Well, it had been a car dealership before, so that was weighing pretty heavily in their favor, but I think we were supposed to determine the suitability of the location and the impact to the public and determine, as an agency of the state, whether they, you know, it's appropriate. But honestly, at the time, I don't think many of us really, we didn't really know. I mean, the fact that we're discussing it here is more than we ever did, so, I don't really have much more for you than that.
Okay, so I thought this was new then, if you did it
Well, it was
before.
You guys came in at 22, right?
20.
20,
Well, beginning of 21, right? January
no, the end of 20.
21.
Yeah, the beginning of 21, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we came in
Beginning of 20.
November.
Beginning of
Yeah.
21.
I have,
only know the Blasius, auto dealership came before us for a certificate or license. I don't recall exactly, but I can recall the event.
any other questions? Because I'd like to ask our land
no.
use director a question. Okay. Mind if I ask you a question, Michelle?
No, sir.
So under the location for dealing in and repairing motor vehicles, approval of gas stations, motor vehicle recycling yard, the first time I asked you about it, you explained it to me really briefly, which made a lot of sense, but I was wondering if you could explain it one more time.
Did I
for
really?
us.
Wow, I must have been on that time.
Yeah, you were quick. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, that makes sense.
I guess you've just silenced me. I don't.
Well, I'll ask you the follow-up question I had. How often does do these come up? Are they yearly, bi-yearly,
No,
every
no,
5,
Mr.
10 years?
Chairman, no, whenever someone wants to change a use, in other words, anyone that we already have existing in town is,
They've got it forever.
right,
It's there.
Yeah.
If it changed ownership or something like that, do they have to re-come in front of us?
yes, they would have to, however, I mean, in a way, it's kind of, I don't wanna call it a variance, cause it doesn't, but it requires a special, kind of a particular overseeing, mostly because of the, possibility of, you're dealing with toxic.
Yeah, dumping oil into the drain or something like that, getting into a creek or wetlands.
So it's simply it's a locational, request from the government to make sure that this is an appropriate location, but, I mean, and I think there's, if I'm not mistaken, and I think you looked into this, I mean, didn't we get just recently a proposed, changes to the statutes? And-
Yes, that was
and
the
this
last
very-
thing that was on there.
This very, regulation is being addressed again in there, I think.
Yes.
So I mean, to tell you the truth, in my view, it's kind of a fluke of, another fluke of government where they just said, oh, by the way,
Yeah, ZBA, you take care of that too.
Someone's gotta handle it.
Right.
Give it
Yeah.
give it to those guys.
The other question is, it's a totally different standard, as I understand it, and like looked it up for, it's different than a variance,
Oh,
right?
yes, yeah.
It's totally different, it's really a judgment thing, it's not a really super high bar. This is my awesome daughter, Kate Donnelly.
Hello.
Is Sabina with her?
Yeah, she opened the door.
And her best pal Sabina. This was,
Hello.
this is the surprise for after the meeting, everybody. Come on in.
Does that mean we're done?
We're really close.
This is so nice of
All right,
you.
I was gonna
Thank
move
you.
on to the letter to, we good with that? Discussion of proposed General Assembly raise bill 915 with consideration. It's a bill, it's not a law yet. Did anybody read through it?
Glanced at it, but again, it's a proposed bill. I wasn't worried about getting into the nitty gritty until we're actually responsible for it, or at least until it's just been proposed. There hasn't even been any
Yeah.
discussion by the General Assembly on it yet.
Oh,
If the-
it's like,
If there's, yeah.
Did you see this thing yet, Richard?
oh,
I haven't,
my
no.
Lord.
Alright, did you see it
Until
yet?
it's further along in the process.
No,
haven't
I
really
thought
considered
it, I
myself
thought it
with
was this, oh my goodness,
yeah.
we don't even have it. We don't have a
One
copy of
second.
it.
Well, I have
Mr.
one.
Chairman,
Yeah, oh. Yes, Rochelle, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just would like to say about this thing, so, this was sent to us, by the
Westcom?
Council of Governments, the West Virginia Council of Governments, because there is legislation now being proposed, as you can see from, this bill, but really, I think the concern, not only of this COG, but I think of all the COGs across the state, is that, the government yet again is seeking to diminish the local control of zoning. And that's really why, comments from commissions like yours and others, are being sought, because this is the time to, raise opposition if that's what you feel, or to say, yeah, we think this is great, take away more of our power. So I think that's why,
Are you talking about
the
the
alarm.
state taking
Yeah.
over?
Yeah, the state has really, has been on a path to remove more and more of the local control, so.
So what was passed, is it a bill that would protect us if in our town, that we can make our own decisions?
No, in fact, it's quite the opposite, whereas, the state would be making the regulations, and they have done that on many occasions recently to take away local power.
You're talking about another bill, not 915.
Wow.
You're talking about another one?
Wait a minute.
Aren't we talking about the one that we transferred?
Yeah, that's that bill. I didn't get that out of that bill, but I only briefly read it. I mean, I skimmed through it. I'd have to spend some time on it. It looked, on this particular one, it looked like they left a lot of the same. They were changing the verbiage,
So,
in
Yeah.
but they added some of the things that normally zoning does
right,
to us.
right, and that is a way to take away control, frankly.
Please explain.
So you are, as you have said on numerous occasions, as you understand, you're in charge of quasi judicial body. The zoning commission, on the other hand, is an executive body, so they would be deciding, making laws and all that. But you.
Right, by
so-
taking something away from them, who they would be the ones responsible for making it, you're taking that.
Yeah, theirs is, quite discretionary about how they want the town to, rezone and how they, what activities they want where, but by taking the special permits out of their hands
Mm.
and putting them in the zoning board of appeals, it's a way of further contracting
Yeah.
local control.
And a lot of zonings also are a combination zoning and planning.
That's
So,
correct, that's correct.
yeah, that's more.
So I
Thank
think
you.
that's the alarm to which, Francis Pickering, the, director of the COG, was gonna respond, like, look, this is what's coming down the pipe. In fact, I also got a similar, missive from the CASIO, the, Connecticut Association of Zoning Enforcement Officers, saying, hey, here's a questionnaire, how do you guys, you zoning enforcement officers, feel about, these, things being taken away? And they had a questionnaire about how do you see this affecting your communities?
Thank
So they're asking for our opinions on these things, because I think it's very unpopular, what's going on.
I have an idea, if everybody doesn't mind, I'll run it by you.
Another letter?
No. Why don't we all read this bill and try to digest it a little bit and discuss it in the next meeting? And if we have feelings on this, that the secretary might wanna write down on something or voice our opinions, we could voice our opinions.
I think the synopsis too, that, Pickering has in here for the considerations is pretty good. I mean, you can obviously read through all the legalese and sections, subsections and stuff like that, but
The last page, I think, is
the
this.
letter, for me it was the beginning, but the email that, was originally.
Where it says,
this-
SB 915 considerations,
Yeah.
this one, right?
The consideration, if you read through that, it gives you.
Do you have a
pretty good-
copy of that, Nagin?
Is it-
I do.
is it a-
Okay.
Yes, in a.
So is it in legalese, jargon, or
No,
is
so
it
Yes,
something?
the considerations isn't
Yeah,
legalese.
the considerations is a synopsis of
Yeah.
what the issues may be that we may want to focus on without having to go through and read the legalese. So
Okay.
on the second and third pages, so it's a really good synopsis for
Okay.
anyone that really doesn't.
Just a quick skimming through it, it sounds like it potentially gives the zoning board of appeals much more power than.
And takes it from zoning.
Case, and that, the idea of a use variance as opposed to a variance based on the specific zoning stipulations in an area creates much more latitude, potentially, and the variance doesn't require a hardship. It has to requires a weight of the relative, benefit to the applicant versus the potential harm to the area in which the specific use is going to be located. So it gives a lot of latitude and discretion to the zoning board, which, it's not obvious to me that there's, benefit in doing that, necessarily. I mean, it gives somebody a way around the zoning regulations spelled out by the zoning board.
That's kind of what I said.
To where the zoning board of appeals can essentially disregard the zoning regulations.
Yeah,
The
that's-
zoning commission has established if under their judgment, the particular use for which the property is being dedicated is, doesn't do harm to the area, but that's such a subjective, assessment, who's to say.
I agree.
And so it seems pretty questionable to me as
Is everybody okay? I'd like to digest it a little bit more, talk about it, and maybe we can make a response. What would be the, Rochelle, I'd like to ask you a question again, if that's okay? So let's say we did have a response, we had a consensus that we agreed, and, we liked this part, we didn't like that part, and we wanted to respond to it. What's the way you respond?
Well, Mr. Chairman, it seems that in Mr. Pickering's,
email, I guess it seemed like he was saying we should respond by like 11 o'clock, I don't know. What we have,
Last week.
yeah, what you would have to
Right.
do is, I'm sure there'll be more hearings, that was one of many, we have to simply follow the proceedings. I don't know myself, I haven't followed it closely myself, but, if these public hearings are open still, there's time to, submit a letter, saying why this commission may be against that, even though it is the zoning board of appeals and may glean more power, I think generally, it really reduces the overall power of the community of Brookfield, the town of Brookfield, to decide land use issues for its people. So I think we'll have to, I can, look into this and see when the next when the next hearing may be and what the time frame is, and I'm sure Francis Pickering will keep us informed as well, but I can let you know, the next opportunity to make a comment.
Thank you very much, I like that.
Yeah.
Does that sound good with everybody? I know we hate letters.
But these are the kinds of letters you
Especially
need to
when,
write.
especially when Alex drafted them.
These are the kinds of letters you need to write, though.
But Janet is great at drafting letters with Lisa's help, and probably somebody else, I'll stay away from it. So it doesn't get too long-winded. Yes,
Rochelle,
ma'am.
can I ask you, the executive director, Western Connecticut Council of Government, do they get like these bills and they in
They
turn
probably have a
go to
lobbyist
the-
up there watching it.
Yeah, are they, right, exactly, are they the lobbyist?
Well, I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily call them lobbyists per se, I mean, but certainly, yes, they are looking out for our interests. So, in 1962, the state of Connecticut did away with county government, so we have no county government, as you know. Something called Fairfield County is just, in name only. But what happened was that they thought, wow, gee, what a mistake that was, we have absolutely no idea what's going on, we have these tiny little towns that need help, so they formed these councils of government.
Okay.
So they serve a quasi-county function, and they try to, and actually the delineations are different from what we have as the geographic counties. But so we have, supposedly like towns in these different councils of government. So this guy, Francis Pickering, is supposed to be acting on all of our behalf, namely Danbury, Bethel, Newtown, all of these people in our cog. So he is the one that's able to watch what's going on in the Senate and hand that information, feed that information to us as he sends us out to all the land use directors and zoning people involved, directly in this. So it's a
So let me ask you, let's say there was a response from the Brookfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Would that go to Mr. Pickering, or we
We
send
could
it
send
to
it right to
directly?
we could send it right to the state, to the Connecticut General Assembly. But he's the feeder and the advisor, basically. Helping us to know what's going on in the state, because
Right.
I can't monitor everything all the time. So
Can we all look at that and discuss it again? We'll put it on the agenda and discuss it.
Yeah, I just wanna raise one thing, I mean, when a bill becomes a law, we all learned about that in junior high, whatever. This may not become a law, and it depends on who's, how do we determine how likely this is? Cause I don't want us to spin our wheels, and,
Well,
We don't need three
Yeah.
meetings of
right,
trying to get the perfect letter and then, it turns out there's
Yes.
2 Congress people who support this, or 2 General Assembly members, I should say,
Right.
that support it.
do you wish to be recognized, Rochelle?
yes, thank you, Mr.
You are
Chairman.
recognized.
So I would just say that, in my experience, because Francis Pickering is weighing in on this and alerting us, it's probably, and also Casio, the Connecticut Association, another of zoning enforcement officers, because they are hyped up about it, it sounds to me like, it's pretty important, and it's
There's a good chance that it could pass.
There's a big, and there is, look, I don't know if you've been following this stuff, but there's a big push by, a lot of, there's 5 or 6 organizations in Connecticut that are really pushing for, these kinds of changes. And
So
so,
what would these changes do?
Gives the state more control over local zoning.
Right, but,
Basically.
so what is their purpose?
well, I can only imagine, but basically, the more control you have, the more you get to move your pawns around and okay, now we
I
want
mean, is it taxes, is it,
well, there's a big outcry
is
from
it
a lot of,
affordable housing?
yeah, it's a lot of
Is it-
outcry from affordable housing, and basically the underserved communities, in our state are really pissed off now, and they have advocates now. And, God forbid they have advocates, now we have to respond. But, still in all, and this is only a personal opinion, but I mean, the fact is that, each community in Connecticut is not a cookie cutter of another, and I don't think should be. I would never wanna live in a state that had every single community exactly the same. Everyone has a Costco,
Right.
everyone has a,
Yeah.
I don't need that, so
Right.
I do think.
And the state telling you exactly how
Right.
that has to be.
I mean, I do think that,
I really think this is important.
it is
And I think we
important.
heard of this.
I think I would recommend what you do too in the meantime is if you visit the WestCog site, they have a lot of really relevant documents that can kind of make it much more clear. So this is an email directly from him, but if you go there, they have all kinds of valuable information. They have model zoning regulations, model, for the whole of Fairfield County or
Right,
formerly
but
known
I
as
don't,
Fairfield
do
County.
we have to know that? I mean,
No, but I'm saying if you go there and visit their website, there's a wealth of information available to you that, gives you the bigger
Right.
picture of what's going on in Congress and, in the state.
I mean, we attend, well, I attended, Alan, and Cora, our Republican, meetings every, third week.
Yeah.
And this is where it was discussed.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, this-
that's why I
it's not the
remember,
first time I've heard it.
it was discussed I mean,
Mhm.
this is like just coming up now, but
Right.
this
Well, there are
has been-
three things that we had to, in zoning this year, we had to, write to the state or draft, I should say, draft referendums, on three different laws that were coming down to us. So the state said, okay, you have to have, these are gonna be your new laws on, accessory dwellings.
Mhm.
These are gonna be your new laws on outdoor dining, and there was one other thing, right, that they said, these are gonna be your laws. And so if you didn't, as a township, municipality, if you didn't opt out of those requirements, you're stuck with the state. Now, it may be the case that the state's fine, so you read the state statutes, and you're like, all right, well, who cares? We're gonna have a couple of outdoor diners, maybe we like that.
Mhm.
But the fact is, if it's not what you want for your community, you're now stuck with the state. So they're always like slipping these things in, and you've
Right.
got to constantly be
That's where
aware.
representatives come in.
Yeah,
I mean, people don't know in Brookfield who
I'll
our
speak up first.
representative is.
I'll speak up
Right.
first.
And it's like so important because you vote for them and they're the ones that you go to
right.
when you have, or you disagree. And, it's important. And I've voiced it to our representative.
I'd like to speak up on this. Lisa, I like your idea of not making it a long drag-out thing. If everybody has a consensus on it, maybe by next meeting, we could draft something up. I won't get involved with it, I'll read it and make a suggestion or two. I know I'm not big on it, I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I
you are-
could.
you are recognized.
Thank you, I could, ask Mr. Pickering how we could best.
Yes.
What
how
is
we
his
could
suggestion on how we could best, address the
right,
issue?
give them.
Can you get that to
what we
myself and the
feel.
secretary, and all of us will look at it and then
Mhm.
let's do something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it'd be a shame to spin our wheels,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh,
so I can
no,
do that.
completely, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Fight the big fights, yeah.
For me, as I said, at first glance, it certainly raises some serious questions, but without knowing, the so-called devil in the details, without knowing how this might be applied, who's benefiting or could benefit, who may suffer from it, it would be very difficult for me to comment on it. I mean, I would almost need to know what's at stake, what's the argument behind this? Is there some problem that this is attempting to address, to correct? What are the actual issues? I mean, because just dealing with it as a more abstract question is very different from what the concrete circumstances that might be attached to it are, and I don't know, it's hard to.
Sounds like Rochelle pointed their resources on this website, so.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there are resources of that sort, I guess,
Or you just call the representative, he's there, waiting
Yeah.
for you to answer. Or
yeah, well, I was just
anything.
thinking about whether as a group we wanted to, if there's anybody we might want to invite to offer some more information about this
Okay.
directly.
Mr.
I
Pickering?
like that idea.
Mr. Pickering,
I like that
I'm all
idea.
for that. Okay, I'll give you this copy, because I think I have another copy, so
Okay.
I'm gonna pass that down. You can have them both. Is there any other discussion on this?
No,
Alright,
Mr.
you-
Chairman.
Michelle, you said you'd find that out for us and get with the secretary and, okay. Thank you very much. Any other discussion, Naheed?
No, I'm
Are
good.
you still with us?
All right. This could be everybody's favorite part.
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
We're adjourned.